right, Benji and Brady, we are back for another episode and continuing our series. Talking about these different sayings and kind of business isms. We were joking before we did, like, what do we want to call these? Are these like David-isms?
Ism? Is that a word?
Or I guess so. Is it something? But we're continuing down these different things that your dad transitioned down from him to you guys on just business, how to run your business. There's ways that you look at your business, both financially, spiritually. And so we're kind of continuing that series today as we jump right back into it. So why don't you guys kind of tell us a little bit about what today's topic is and where a little bit of, I guess, this topic came from and what your dad kind of called with it.
I will say before we do that, I think that a lot of these sayings were probably said from someone else that he knew.
Oh,
it just happens to
100%.
be that
Well, we talked
just
about that
remember-
last week, right?
Yeah.
With Randy Jackson.
Yeah. Look, unless you coined the phrase, nobody knows who really said it. So, might
But
as
they
well coin it.
impacted us, and that's what matters. Hopefully they'll make an impact to you out there listening. So
I think there was somebody that said one time that plagiarism was the best form of flattery or something like
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
It's
I might have botched that a little
It's
bit.
like the book, Still Like an Artist. Everything
Yeah.
is taken from something else.
Absolutely.
It just has your own
Yeah.
thing to it. So,
So today's topic is a phrase that our dad used a lot, which was, I make it my business to know my business. And really this was the beginning point of us wanting to do this series. And, you know, I think it's some things like Benji and I, we say these things and we don't even know we say them just because they're ingrained in us.
yeah,
But where this actually came from was, I remember like it was yesterday. It was Saturday morning, and you know I was doing some work on the laptop or something like that, and I think I was actually working on a very exciting topic, which was like tax planning. Okay,
it sounds like a great way to spend a
Saturday morning. I mean, had 2 cups of coffee in me, and I'm just doing some tax planning. And so my wife Melissa looks at me and she said, "Hey, what you working on?" And I told her, and she just had like this puzzled look on her face. And she didn't say, if she's listening, which I don't know if she is or not, but if she is, she probably didn't say it exactly like this, so I apologize in advance. But she said, "Don't you have people for that, like CPAs?" And I was like, "Yes." But I said, one of the things that Dad always taught us was, I make it my business to know my business. And so if and really where it came from, and we'll kind of get to the origin story, but if I don't know it, how can I talk intelligently about it? Like, they are the CPAs are the professionals, but it's our finances. It's our planning. Like, they're there to help to make sure that it gets facilitated the right way. But at the end of the day, if I don't know that, and that can apply to any part of life and leadership, and
Well, I think to your point, today's world, and whether you're an employee listening, whether you're a manager, owner of a company, whatever, you have to make it, like Brady said, make it your business to know your business. If you let's say you're playing a certain role on a team, how can you maximize your potential to grow in that company if you don't know the business, right? And you have to study. You got to get better, and it doesn't just. I think a lot of people, and we're very blessed, and we don't have a lot of employees that think this way, but I think a lot of people today just they want to show up for a paycheck, and if they would take it and actually not just show up for a paycheck, but learn how they can get better at their role, they can grow in a company, they can grow in an organization. People always want to make more money. Let's be honest. That's the world we're in. People always, and it's always been like that.
Yeah.
But how can they get better? Know the business, learn your craft, perform at your trade. People will notice you, and they'll know that you know the business, and that's how you become more successful.
Well, and I'm gonna throw a curveball at you. We're gonna go off script a little
Perfect.
bit. Joe.
Let's go.
We're talking about it.
Let's go.
So you're talking about make it my business, know my business. At what point, and obviously it's going to be different for every level of business, whether you're running a large company that's got 200-300 employees, 50 employees. At what point for someone that is a business owner, is it important for them to see the day-to-day and know where the pain points are? Like, where does that kind of cutoff get to where you're like, all right, I need to be, like, obviously you're probably not going to be in the trucks and out doing water. We're too large. We have way too much going on.
Sure.
But at what level do you feel like it's important as an owner to say, all right, I've seen it, I've experienced it, I know what they're dealing with at this point in time, not just as you've grown, but like where they are. How is it for you as an owner to kind of see that and know those things so you do know the ins and outs of that business?
Well, it seems a little counterintuitive because I mean, I tell our leaders all the time, it's not that we need you in the weeds. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is awareness. Like, we can't just be naive to the fact that negligence as a leader gets us to where we need to go.
Yeah.
We have to have an awareness of what's happening. There was a I don't know who said this quote, but it's like, what got you here won't get you there.
Yeah.
So just because we've got some things that worked in the past, the regulatory environment is changing, the economy is changing, culture is changing. All these things are changing. So what worked back then, and having knowledge of that, but you have to be a student. Here's a better way to put it. Maybe this is a challenge question. Are you a student of your business from yesterday?
Yeah.
Or a student of your business from today? That's the real question. Because I remember, and we've probably talked about this before, but when we were like an area developer in the ServPro world, and that's, we called it a trainer. We were over several different states, and our dad ran that for years, and I would go on these trips with him, and we'd have these conversations, or we'd come back home, and he would be in these conversations with people, and I would just, I sit there and listen and kind of soak it in. But afterwards, I'm like, how do you know that?
Mm-hmm.
And this is what he would come back to. He would say, now he said it a little bit more direct, but he said, son, I make it my business to know my business. And so he was just a student of, it's not that he knew everything, but he was keenly aware. He had one of these mannerisms that when he asked a question, and this.
Oh, absolutely.
He already knew the answer to the
he
question. He was just asking the question to see if you knew the answer to the question.
I was like, I'm pretty sure I've seen you do that many a times.
I got it. As we say in the South, we got that honest.
Apple don't fall far from the tree.
I was about to say, I've sat in many meetings with you where I'm like, I feel like you're asking me this and you already know the answer to it.
Hey, I mean, what can I say? So that's kind of the origin of this, and as Benji said earlier, a lot of these phrases he did not come up with on his own, and I didn't really know.
I don't know where it came from.
Well, so I did a little bit of research, and actually this came from a guy by the name of, which you probably know, John D. Rockefeller.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so at the turn of the 19th century, he was in the oil business, but you're talking about this titan of American history. And he knew every single aspect of his business. Like, when his people came to him, they should know the answer, because if they didn't, he knew the answer. Yeah. He asked the same type of questions. So that's the way that that he was, and that's the way that our dad operated. He just knew, because he made it his business to know his business. So here's kind of a question, and we want to. And I don't know if this would be a 2-part series or not, Adam.
It might be.
It might be.
Like I said, when it just made me think. I mean, there's probably a lot of listeners. You're saying, like, you're starting out with, I'm making my business and know my business, and that's what even prompted me to ask the two of y'all that, because I think it puts a lot of listeners in a situation like, all right, I hear what you're saying. So how far down the line do I need to go to know my business? Like, if you're a smaller ServPro, do I need to be sitting on a truck? Do I need to be going to a water damage? Or if it's someone the size that you two are at, where do I put the line to know what's happening in my business? Or, like you said, is it trusting the people I have in place? I know that gets into a whole thing.
It's a both end.
Yeah.
But as a leader, you just have to be aware.
If you don't know the business, what if you get into a situation where, let's say you work at McDonald's, right? And you're overwhelmed and somebody didn't show up to work. What if you don't know how to cook food?
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't know the business, how can you help your customers? And your people, for that matter.
Scalability. Yeah. I think that's a big thing. That's something that a lot of business owners today are looking at too, is scalability. How can I scale to know when I can do these things? Because you have to be able to handle the workload or pass it off to someone else.
So. Yeah. So let me give you guys kind of I think this will kind of bring it home, Adam. But, we use these buzzwords like KPIs, KPMs. Mm-hmm. If I was a consultant in your business, I came in and said, okay, these 5 KPIs that are on your screen.
Mm-hmm.
tell me what each one of those mean and tell me the numbers, like give me the story behind them.
Mhm.
You know, that's the question as a leader. Do we actually know what those are? You know, because, you know, in the corporate world, you deal with board of directors and you're reporting up and certain things. In a world like ours, we are the business owner. So we don't really have to be in those meetings and have to report out to anybody else but ourselves.
Mhm.
But it doesn't preclude us from the fact of that we need to know what those numbers are so that we can run our businesses better.
Yeah.
That I think that's the heart behind making my business to know my business. So really, you know, this comes down to stewardship versus ownership. And we've talked about this on the show before, but you know, our dad, he never portrayed himself as an owner. You know, that was a title on a business card, but really is I am really stewarding this for somebody else. I'm really stewarding this for God. He's put this and entrusted us to oversee it, and that's really what I'm doing. So, you know, that really I think is about becoming like a student of your business. So,
Yeah.
Benji, I'll throw it to you.
Yeah.
You know, was there? I kind of talked about a specific moment that I remember. You know, Dad saying that phrase. But what do you remember from this particular phrase?
I mean, there's several that come to mind. He always, and again, I know today's world is different. As Adam mentioned, the larger your organization gets. But I remember back in the day when we were on the truck, because our business, for those of you that don't know and you're listening, is a very labor intensive business.
Yeah.
Without labor in the field, we can't perform. We're a service industry business. And I'll never forget one time I was actually working on a large, we did carpet cleaning back in the day. We cleaned carpets for all the schools in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And he would come by the job site and he would say, "That carpet doesn't look like it's been cleaned." "Well, Dad, it has been cleaned." And he goes, "It doesn't look like it's been cleaned." And I'm like, "Well, I don't understand why." Now, again, as a
I just cleaned it.
15, 16,
sat there and did it.
17-year-old high school kid, you know, at the end of the day at work, he was our boss, you
Yep.
know, but he's still our father. I was like, "I don't understand what you mean." He said, "I can tell by the way that carpet is looks that it's not cleaned properly." And I said, "Well, I did this, and this." He said, "Stop, there's the problem." He said, "How did you mix the product that goes in that machine to clean that carpet?" And I told him, he goes, "That's not what the book says. The book says if you would put 2 ounces in there instead of 6 ounces, more is not better."
Yeah.
If you use the right formula in your business and whatever you're doing, the formula, and again, I go back to the McDonald's story. If you order a Big Mac all the time and someone doesn't put cheese on it, now, for those of you that may not like cheese, I get it, but what if you don't do it with lettuce? What if you don't, it's not a Big Mac anymore.
Yeah.
It's just a triple cheeseburger, right? So what I'm getting at is he would say, "I can tell by the way that is because I know the business so well. I can tell what it's supposed to look like, and it doesn't look like that." So the formula, going back to your KPI, KPM, the formula is just a road. It's the book. It's the book. It's the Bible. It tells you exactly what to do. If you'll do it this way, success will come, and it will look like it's supposed to look. And we can honestly tell our customers it was done right.
I think that's a really good point. That he knew the business so well that he knew what right looked like.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like I remember him telling us, and I got a question for you too, Adam, but I remember a story that he told us one time, and I don't know if we do this anymore, but you know, we went to the Denver Mint.
Oh, yeah.
Remember when we had
Absolutely.
like a convention in Denver? And I remember him telling me, he's like, "How does somebody?"
By the way, we drove to Denver that year. We didn't.
we
fly.
did not fly. That was like 1991 or something.
I've done that drive to Nebraska before. It's
It was a long drive.
it's a long drive.
Probably in the back of the Suburban. if I
We
remember.
were in that blue Astro van that had the little small TV. We hooked our
there you go.
Nintendo up to it.
Yes.
The screen was like 6 inches big.
Man. Y'all bring
But
back
I remember when we were there, you know, he told us a story of like these people that work in this mint, like we actually print money. That's what I was saying. I don't know if we print money anymore, but
Bitcoin.
there you go. But he said, how do these people that work in this mint, how do they know what counterfeit looks like?
I remember that.
And I was like, I don't know. He said it's because thousands of times per day, they see these coins or these bills or these things that come across their station. It's kind of like manufacturing, and they know what right looks like. So going back to your story, he looked at the carpet. He knew what right looked like. He might not have known why at the moment, but he was able to ask enough questions
For sure.
that says something doesn't look right there. I know my business. That doesn't look right. Help me understand so we can get it right. So, Adam, I want to kind of point to you a minute, because from a, let's just say, an employee standpoint, you know, what does it look like from your perspective of a leader really knowing and understanding, whether it's a Serve Pro leader used to, be here and work for us, or whether it's a church leader, in any type of circumstance, how does that help you? And you're a business owner too, but how does it help you from an employee standpoint for the leader to really know their business?
I think it helps a lot when you guys are asking questions and like you're genuinely interested in the topic and going through those things. Like when we talked a lot about marketing, you always had questions. Well, what does this mean? Why do we have to do this? Why would it, even things to me that would be simple because I do it every day and have the understanding. I think when you had those questions, it helped me steer the conversation because I knew what I needed to explain to you on what we were trying to do, whether that's changing our digital strategy, whether it's our advertising, those things. And having just that one-on-one time meant a lot to me. And that's just me. That's how I operate for my system.
Yeah.
But getting to do those weekly meetings with you as a leader, even if you weren't in the field, like when we would go out and capture or get things that we needed, I didn't think you need to do that. But for me as an employee, just sitting down one-on-one and even having 30 minutes to talk through some things. Hey, this is what I'm dealing with. Can I bring this to the table? Hey, this is what I'm trying to get fixed. What should I do? And just the advice you would give and the questions that you would ask when I asked my questions to kind of get me to think differently. It just helped me know that you really are involved in what I'm doing. You trusted what we were doing, but you still had questions about it because you were trying to understand it. So that to me as an employee helps me a lot, having that. Even now in the role that I'm in at the church, I'm having that. I know it's tough. Like even with our lead pastor, he's very busy. It's not just us. He's shepherding the church. He's meeting with people. He's doing things. But even having one-on-one time a little bit so I can understand the vision as an employee. I think sometimes when I get to sit down that's not in a group setting, it allows me to ask questions that, and honestly, that maybe I wouldn't ask in a group setting because I'm like, wow, I probably sound like an idiot.
Yeah.
Like I should already know this answer. But sitting at one-on-one, I know that for me as an employee, that's how I operate. That's how I process things. That was a big part. But that was why I felt like we were successful in the marketing that we were doing digitally and the success we've seen in Birmingham with that, because we did meet regularly and go through those questions. And you never stop asking questions. Even now, we get constant questions. I'll get up in the morning, you've been up since 5, and I'll have a question like, hey, what are we doing with this and why is this doing this? But by doing that, you've really helped me see, like, even we're doing something now, we're trying to figure out our calls. There's some things we've uncovered that we would never have known if you hadn't said, hey, where is this? Because it's not how it operates, and we didn't see it. We didn't realize these things were happening behind the scenes, but it started us to research. So that's why for me as an employee, that's a big part, because it helps me know that I can relay that information back to you.
So what it kind of sounds like, just kind of summing that up, and what I'm hearing is that, from an employee standpoint, with leaders that really understand and care and, want to be involved in the process, it gives you as an employee confidence in what the leader can bring to the table. It would be opposite if you came to one of us and we were like, Adam, I don't know, man, just figure it out. Figure it out,
Well, it kind of leaves that person in limbo going, what am I really supposed to do? How can I be effective?
Well, I think no matter how hard you try to deny it, I feel like I'm in a different place sometimes. Like I always understood my job is to make your job easier. Like you've hired me, you've put me in this position. The last thing you need to be doing is worrying about what we're doing and why we're doing that. So I used to always do that. But at the end of the day, I would say like, I don't need you to give me kudos. I don't need this, but everybody says that.
Yeah.
And I know for me, like when somebody says, hey, this is great, like this looks good.
Yes, you are words of affirmation. We know
I
that.
try to act like I'm not, but I'm trying to be better. We just finished our evals, and that's something I put down on. It's like I try to act like I don't think it bothers me, but it does. But I'm pretty good about
Adam, you
hiding
can't
it.
stop who you are.
I know.
Hey, it's all over this right here.
I know. I wear my emotion. I
Hey,
am naturally.
You're doing a good job.
I am naturally emotional. I said something to one of our pastors the other day because I was like, I'm an emotional person. I was like, well, my Serpro owner Brady, he used to call it passionate. I was
Passionate,
like, I always
yeah.
felt like that was it felt more positive
Yeah.
than being that. But yeah, and I think sometimes too, for you guys as business owners, I think sharing that, even if it's just for a moment,
Yeah,
like
right.
whether it's walking through the hall, whether it's showing up to a meeting in the morning for 5 minutes, and you don't have to do it all the time.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes any employee from top to bottom, you're like, you hear that, you're like, all right, I am doing it. Okay, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, you know? And I think sometimes too, because I work in a situation where I'm isolated a lot because we have a smaller creative team.
Right.
It makes it tougher. And that's, I think,
Yeah.
really any business, I think people try to act like they're good working in large groups, but that's like, for me, I would never survive being remote.
Yeah.
I know I wouldn't. That's why I enjoy the weeks that I get to come in here on Wednesdays and Fridays, because it's like, all right, I'm back in the office.
Hey, I'll tell you,
And we're going to challenge you.
Yes.
I'll tell you, even as a business owner, I did the remote thing for a year and a half when we sold our other building. It was fun, but it was miserable. Like, cause you feel like you're just looking at a screen all day long versus being, you don't hear the hallway conversations to go, oh, maybe we should do that. Or maybe, maybe we make that change or whatever, and being back, I get what you're saying. You need that, you need that team camaraderie. You need that. Now, again, if you are out there listening and you are a remote position, make the best of it. Make it effective.
Yeah, and you may just have to get creative to figure out ways to try to stay engaged. I mean, I've got a friend of mine that's actually in C12. He's in the other forum, but his entire business is remote.
Remote, yeah.
They've got like 150 employees, and they're all remote.
Where I shared
I mean,
with
it
you
can
guys,
be very effective, though. I mean, it can.
It is. And I think I shared with you guys, I got to do a video project with a buddy of mine that owns another company, and he got hired by this company that creates software for schools. They have over 250 employees, 100% remote, but they're ultra successful. They're very intentional though about their time together.
Sure.
Like
you have to be.
This week that we went and filmed, it was a retreat, but
It was a work week.
It was a work week, but they planned team outings.
Yeah.
They did things together. And then in the cities where you're together, like if you're in pockets where you're with other people that work for the company, they try to do things with it. So there was just intentionality behind it. But I think also that goes back to knowing your business, because you're in the day-to-day, even if you're remote, doing those things with those people that you're with that allows you to know your people. I think knowing your business is also knowing your people.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
So let's hit a couple of leadership principles, okay?
Yeah.
Ask a few questions, and we'll probably have to wrap this one up, and we'll.
It's you're back to
I
your
know.
two-parter.
Why is it always me? I
They're
don't know.
successful.
I mean, I will tell you, two-parters are always our most listened to. So
okay.
bring
All
it
right.
on.
This one might be a three-parter. Honestly, I don't know. So let's talk about a couple leadership principles, okay? So we're talking about knowing your business, like that. That is being a student of your business, because really ownership without knowledge is really just a title.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You can have a business card that says Brady Wilson, owner. Man, that's you can pat your chest, and it's just a title if I don't really know it. Because really, the most dangerous leader is not the unintelligent leader. It's really the unaware leader.
For sure.
That's good.
Okay? Because there's a lot of intelligent people that are out there. But if you're unaware and you're just kind of going through if you're not leading and you're just unaware and oblivious to everything that's going on around you, then how successful if your business is successful and you're like that, then you've got some really good people around you.
Yeah.
But how much better could it be? Because here's the reality. You talked about delegation earlier, okay? And there's a fine line there. But you can delegate task all day long, but you can't delegate understanding.
Yeah, that's good.
That is true.
That's
you
very
can't
good.
delegate learning. I wish I could. I mean, if I could figure that out.
Well, you love to learn. I feel
I
like
love
you
to
could sit
learn.
in a room and read for 8 hours and be happy as can be.
Yeah, I love it. I wish I could delegate that. I need to figure that out. But so really, just this aspect of, and we've talked about it, but really just being a student of your business. And I'll go back to one thing that we talked about before. Do you know your business of yesterday, or do you know your business of today?
Yeah.
Because again, what got you there won't get you here.
That's right.
And yeah, I happen to be the type of person that I love to learn. I mean, I love learning new things. Sometimes I get a little bit too excited. Our leadership team says, Brady, you cannot come in this meeting anymore, and we're not implementing the newest book that you just read. Okay?
Did you get kicked out of your own meeting?
Probably, yeah. So I've gotten a little bit better at that, but I like that because, you know, the human brain, there's, even though it seems full sometimes, there's so much more that we can pack in there and learn and adapt and evolve of how we become better. So I think our dad, you know, he modeled this very well, and I think he set a good example for this. But he would always encourage us to leaders are learners.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So read book. I mean, I don't know how many books he probably had a goal of how many books he was going to read every year. I don't know what that goal is or was, but he always encouraged us to keep learning and keep trying to understand, and you have to keep up with the times. You have to keep up with the business. You know, we were just talking about the other day that we're going to have to change some things in the way that we look at our business, and we have to be agile because the market's changing, and the way that we, you know, have business relationship is changing. So we can't be naive to the fact that what's always worked is going to continue to work. So Benji, I kind of talked about that.
Yeah.
I remember, but what do you remember this tension between delegation and disengagement? How would you describe that from your own journey?
I remember back then he would tell us all the time, to your point, you can't delegate everything, because at some point the leader has to, you know, be in control, be in charge of what's going on. There's a lot of times that, you know, if the leader is disengaged, then, I mean, your people downstream can see it. They sense it. They're going to pick up and know exactly when there's a problem, you know. And you really need to be in the, quote, know. We go back to knowing the business. You got to be in the know of what's going on, what's happening in the, to your point, the industry or whatever business you're in, and be engaged in it and try to get better. You know, every idea is not the best idea. I've had to learn that over the years. I invent and try to wonder all the time, we could do this and do that. And at the end of the day, you have to have those people, but you also have to have the people to go, wait a minute, that might not work that way, you know? Yeah. So I think you can delegate. I'm going to call them tasks, so to speak, that you may not need to do everything, because that person does need to plan. Somebody has to be out front leading. Somebody has to be out front keeping the vision moving forward. Whatever those strategic goals and objectives are, you have to keep those in front of everyone. Yeah. If not, everything becomes non-important, you know, because you got too many things you're trying to focus on. So I think that the delegation is important, but I also think you got to be careful of, if you delegate everything, it don't mean you go to the golf course 5 days a week. You got to be engaged in the process. You got to have those people report back. Accountability is a good thing. Yeah. You know, and honestly, accountability is good for us as leaders as well. Sure. Yeah. We need people to tell us where we might mess up, where we might need to jump back on track, and that's okay.
Yeah. But I think you being involved in that is a big deal. I think something that I stress out a lot about, even as an employee, and I do it even when we're doing stuff, Brady, that you send, I always get concerned when you think about something I didn't. But I always try to remember, this is why you're here, because you think about the aspects of the business that maybe I haven't thought about. And I even do that with the people that I manage at the church. Like, I try to make sure they understand, like, hey, it's fine that you didn't think about this, but now let's work on it together. Like what we've been working through with calls, there's a couple of things you asked that I never thought about. So me as an employee, I'm like, wow, if Brady's figuring it out, then why am I here?
Hey, I've got a few more questions for you today.
I'm sure you do after this. But what I love about what you're talking about, Benji, is it allows, when you guys are staying involved and you're asking those questions, that it's like looking at a sheet. I can look at a sheet all day long, but I've looked at it so much that I miss a grammar or something, like something that's spelled wrong, or a punctuation that's wrong, because I feel like it comes white noise. But when you're looking at it from the outside, you're not looking at it constantly like I am. So there are things that I may miss that pop out. So that allows you to be in that, and then you just end up working as a team to say that, all right, now we found it, now I need you to fix it. So
yeah.
So I'm going to leave our audience with a challenge question and one quick analogy, and I'll let you guys wrap it up. But, you know, are you growing in the understanding of your organization faster than your organization is growing? and that's challenging to me, because when we're passionate about something, we want to learn it. We should want to learn it. The best analogy, you talked about golf earlier, so I'm going to give a golf analogy. I apologize if our listeners out there, not everybody's a golfer, so you may not get this analogy, but several weeks ago, we were at Disney for my daughter's senior trip. And if you're a golfer, like, what do you constantly think about? And what do you constantly do? We're always practicing. We're always wanting to get better. I mean, it was so funny because I think I joined the old dads club because
Who you stand in line practicing your swing?
and there were 3 other dads that were doing the exact same thing. So you could see us like practicing our backswing and getting it. And we all looked at each other and, we're just like,
I just realized what I was doing.
yeah. But, and I use that as a funny analogy, but when you're passionate about something and you want to get better at something, then you're constantly on the brain and you're constantly wanting to learn it and improve it and be a study of it or student of it.
Yeah.
Your business is no different.
Yeah.
So we want to challenge you today, and we'll continue in this next week, but make it your business to know your business.
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, this is part 1. We will come back with part 2, but we want to say thank you to all our listeners out there who listen to us on every platform, Apple, Spotify, all the others. If you're watching us on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. And as always, you can subscribe at higheruppodcast.com/subscribe to your favorite platform. Go out and choose to live a higher up life. We'll see you for part 2 next time.